Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the Citizen Watch Company. The first watches were introduced in Japan during the 1860s. Until the late 19th century, watchmaking was completely dominated by Swiss traders in Yokohama. Francois Perregaux, James Favre-Brandt, Colomb and Sier. They imported Swiss watches and sold them to Japanese businessmen who handled their distribution throughout the country. Watch sales grew significantly with industrialization and the development of railways. The number of units imported rose from 47,000 in 1880 to 145,000 in 1900, and this boom encouraged several Swiss watch merchants to seek independence from Swiss importers by producing watches themselves. In 1918, the Shokosha Watch Research Institute, which is the forerunner of Citizen Watch Company, was founded. In 1924, Citizen manufactured their first pocket watch. One of those first models was purchased by Emperor Showa. In 1930, Citizen Watch Company was founded. In 1931, Citizen created their first wristwatch. In 1936, Citizen expanded beyond the boundaries of Japan and started exporting watches to various parts of Southeast Asia. In 1940, Citizen moved their production facilities to a small town about 200 kilometers from their former location in Tokyo. The company manufactured many components, amongst which were chronometers and igniters that the military used. In 1952, Japan's first wristwatch with a calendar was marketed. In 1953, Citizen acquired the Rhythm Clock Company, and they continue to make amazing clocks. In 1956, Citizen marketed their first shock-resistant watch called the Parashock. In 1958, they started exporting watches to the People's Republic of China. Also in 1958, Japan's first wristwatch with an alarm called the Citizen Alarm was marketed. In 1959, Japan's first water-resistant watch called the Parawater was marketed. In 1962, the world's thinnest three-hand watch was developed by Citizen. In 1964, Citizen began diversifying, and they created the Citizen Office Machine Company, which today in Japan is called the CBM Corporation. In 1965, they marketed an automatic, water-resistant wristwatch with a day and a date called the Crystal 7. They also started producing office equipment and precision manufacture components that year. In 1966, the first electronic wristwatch in all of Japan was marketed by Citizen, and that was called the X8. In 1967, the first transistorized electronic quartz watch called the Crystron was marketed. The 70s were another prolific decade for Citizen, and also the beginning of the company's move towards the quartz technology that dominates its current output. However, Citizen did not completely move away from mechanical movements during this decade. In 1971, they made a tuning fork electronic watch called the High Sonic. In 1973, the analog quartz watch called the Citizen Quartz Crystron was marketed. In 1974, solar-powered technology is first introduced, not to mention the first Japanese LCD technology watch. In 1975, Citizen launched the now legendary Crystron Mega Quartz watch. It's considered even today to be one of the world's most accurate watches that's available to the public. It's priced at approximately 15 million yen, or about 125,000 American dollars. Also in 1975, Citizen established the Citizen Watch Company of America. In 1976, the world's first analog quartz watch, which used sunlight as a power source, called the Citizen Quartz Crystron Solar Cell, was marketed. In 1978, the ultra-slim analog quartz watch, called the Citizen Quartz 790, was marketed, and it contained the world's first movement to break the 1 millimeter barrier. In 1978, Citizen marketed a watch called the Citizen Quartz Digiana, which is an LCD quartz watch combined with an analog quartz watch. In 1980, Japan became the world's largest producer of watches, and in November of that year, they released a watch called the Exceed Gold, and that had the world's smallest volume movement. In 1981, the world's most pressure-resistant watch, called the Professional Diver 1300 meter, was marketed. At the time, it was the world's most water-resistant watch available for public use. In 1986, Citizen became the world's largest producer of watch movements. In 1987, they marketed the Attesa titanium watch. They also introduced the Voice Master, or in Japan, the Voice Memo, and that's the first wristwatch with voice recognition technology. The 1990s were almost as prolific as far as world's first as the 70s, and in the early 1990s, Citizen launched the analog Aqualand, which is the first quartz watch with an analog depth gauge. In 19 1992, they became the official timekeeper of America's Cup yacht race. In 1993, the world's first multi-zone radio-controlled watch was marketed. 1995, the Citizen watch with a free 10-year warranty and lifetime repairs was marketed. In 1996, the light energy-powered EcoDrive watch obtained the Eco Mark rating. Also in 1996, Citizen began marketing a watch for the contemporary woman called the XC. In 1997, Citizen launched the Exceed EcoDrive to the Japanese market, and this watch featured an accuracy of plus or minus 10 seconds per year, followed very closely by the EcoDrive signature technology, which corrects time differences when traveling between time zones. In 1998, the ProMaster EcoDrive Duo, which is the world's first hybrid power system watch, which used sunlight power and movement power, was marketed. They also introduced the ProMaster EcoDrive Aqualand, also known as the ProMaster Aqualand EcoDrive Analog Depth Meter, which is the world's first solar-powered diver's watch with an electronic depth gauge. In October of 1998, Citizen unveiled the world's smallest quartz movement, which they fitted to the Exceed Ladies EcoDrive. In 1999, the Attesa EcoDrive radio-controlled watch was marketed in Japan. Also in 1999, Citizen introduced the ProMaster EcoDrive Super Tough, which is 5 times better at resisting shock damage than non-parashock watches. In 2000, the premium watch series called the Campanola collection was marketed. In 2001, the Universal Design watch MU was marketed. In 2002, the world's thinnest EcoDrive watch called the Stiletto was marketed. 2003, the world's first full metal case radio-controlled watch with a built-in antenna was marketed. In 2005, the world's smallest radio-controlled watch movement, which was only 20.8 millimeters by 3.5 millimeters, was marketed. 2006, the world's thinnest EcoDrive radio-controlled analog metal watch was marketed. Also in 2006, the world's first EcoDrive radio-controlled watch with a date disc was marketed. In 2007, the world's first EcoDrive global radio-controlled watch that can receive Japan, the United States, and European Standard Time through radio waves was marketed. In 2008, the world's first EcoDrive global radio-controlled watch that can receive Japan, the United States, Europe, and China Standard Time through radio waves was marketed. Also in 2008, Citizen acquired the USA's Bulova Watch Company, including all of its affiliated brands, which include Bulova, Caravel, Wittnauer, and Accutron, making the combined company the world's largest watchmaker. In 2009, the Attesa Jet Setter Direct Light, which is the world's first watch with a city selection disc, was marketed. 2010, the 2009 Basel Fair concept watch, the EcoDrive Dome, was marketed. 2011, the world's smallest XC EcoDrive radio-controlled watch was marketed. Also in 2011, the world's first Exceed global radio-controlled analog ladies watch was marketed. And again in 2007, the EcoDrive Satellite Wave was marketed. In 2012, the watch that Citizen submitted for the 2009 Basel Fair, called the EcoDrive Ring, was marketed. In 2013, Citizen marketed the EcoDrive Eyes and the ProMaster EcoDrive Satellite Wave Air. Also in 2013, they created a watch called the Attesa Double Direct Flight, which displayed the time of 2 cities simultaneously. In 2014, Citizen made a watch called the EcoDrive Altachron Cirrus, which is a watch with an electronic compass and an altimeter. Also in 2014, Citizen made a watch with a Lajoux Perret mechanical movement called the Campanola. Also in 2014, the world's thinnest case, the world's fastest reception, the world's first flight level indicator watch called the EcoDrive Satellite Wave F100 was marketed. So as you can see, Citizen has been at the forefront of innovation and invention since watches came to Japan.